We can start.
Good afternoon. Mark McCormick. I'm chair of the Kansas African American Affairs Commission, Office of the Kansas Governor. I'm officially calling this meeting of the Kansas African American Affairs Commission to order September 8th at 1:34. To order by stating Kansas Open Meeting Act guidelines. Due to distance, health, and safety concerns, members of the public are not in attendance at this meeting. However, full access to this meeting is being provided by a medium of interactive communication. This virtual medium will provide members of the public without cost the ability to listen using teleconferencing as available. The agenda for this meeting has been posted on the Kansas Public Square website and may be requested by emailing the Kansas African American Affairs Commission office at KAAC.ks.gov. Each member of the commission staff and guests will state their name and title each time they begin speaking or voting so that individuals can be readily identified by remote listeners. All participants are required to ensure that microphones, telephones, or other electronic devices are muted when not speaking, so that the ability of remote listeners or observers to hear the meeting is not unnecessarily impeded. A public comment opportunity will be provided at the beginning of each commission meeting following the roll call and chairman's opening comments. During this meeting, the commission will not recess to a closed executive session pursuant to KSA 7543-19. Each motion, if any, will be clearly stated and restated before the commission, and the chairperson will announce the results of the final vote. Commissioners and guests, please note that this meeting is being recorded. Thank you, and welcome to the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. For roll call, Commissioner Davis.
Here, present.
Commissioner McRoy.
Present.
Commissioner New.
Present.
Commissioner Westbrook.
Present.
Commissioner Lewis.
Present.
Commissioner Penn.
Present.
This is great. Because we have a special guest, I would prefer to go directly to that special guest before I offer any opening comments. Does anyone have any objections? Stacy, I'll turn the floor over to you to introduce our guest.
Many monitors, too many places to point. This is Executive Director. Now, I did not prepare an introduction because I was not aware that she was going to drop in. So, Katrin, if you wanted to introduce yourself, that's fine.
Yeah, and I really just wanted to stay in the background. I realize it's a public meeting, so I just wanted to observe as a public person. So I didn't realize my face was going to be out there or my name. So, but yes, here I am. I was gonna just listen in, and that's what I'll be doing. Thank you.
There you have it.
You're certainly welcome. So I will go into my chairman's opening comments. And I typically have not made comments, but now that our audit has been made public, I did want to open the floor to some discussion. This is certainly up to you, commissioners. But for almost 3 years, I worked at the Kansas Leadership Center. And one of the most fascinating concepts that they would share there had to do with certain proclivities that we Kansans have with regard to dealing with conflict. Kansans tend to be conflict averse, which means that issues that should be put on the table are often not put on the table. In fact, they're only talked about in the parking lot in whispers until we're prepared to put our issues at the center of the table and address them. We'll be hard pressed to resolve any of these issues. And I wanted to take the opportunity to express some concern, even disappointment, that there were elements reported in this audit that I felt like should have come out in this meeting. And I'm curious as to why we had to read the audit in order to learn these things. And I'll leave that question there, and hopefully someone can address this issue. If not, we'll move on.
Mr. Chair, may I speak?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Okay,
Thank you.
this is Commissioner New. I don't have an answer to that question other than I've heard the phrase Kansas nice. And so I think just for the sake of going along to get along, sometime we may fall into that category. But my question, and I don't know if you can address this or if Ms. Osterhaus may have some insight. It mentioned at the end of the audit report that no commissioners were present for the presentation. And I was never made aware. I live in Topeka. I would have been very happy to be there, just to be a set of ears, because I know feedback, even critical feedback, is always important for organizational growth. But I wasn't aware that there was even going to be a public, I guess a public airing of the findings. And so I just wondered if something like this should occur in the future, where should we look, or how should we expect to be notified that we can be present? Thank you.
This is Chairman McCormick. Executive Director Nell, could you begin to take this on? And then we'll go to Commissioner Davis, who has his hand up.
Yes, sure. The audit came out, I think it was the 22nd or something like that. And I knew the audit was going to come out. I had made the decision not to attend the audit in person to take questions because I didn't really see the point of that. We had done a printed out response, and the governor's office had also done a response. I'm glad Katrin is here to address this, because she did let me know that she was going to send an advance copy of the audit to Mark McCormick. As you guys know, it was all held in confidence. I didn't share it with you. We didn't talk about the details until the audit went public. And so she said that she was going to send an advance copy to Mark. I said, fantastic. Can Mark appear to answer questions and represent the commission? She said, no. I said, what's the point of sending an advance copy of the audit to Mark if he's not going to be able to be there to answer questions? And it was indicated to me that the only person who was going to be allowed to speak on behalf of the commission was going to be me, even though Mark was getting a copy of the commission. At that point, I guess it was a done deal. So Mark knew that it was going. Mark and I both knew that that it was going to take place, and perhaps I was mistaken. Since then, I had contacted Katrin to get that clarified, and she said that anyone could have answered questions. That was not the way it was first initially told to me, that anyone in the room could have been called forth to answer questions. It was my understanding that the only person who was going to be allowed to speak on behalf of the commission was going to be me. And I'm not sure I really wanted to. That seemed like a slippery slope for me. Mark was willing to go, but it was communicated to me, not communicated to him. And unfortunately, with this audit, if nothing is in print, if nothing's in email, nothing is verifiable, provable, deniable, or anything. There's no email exchange to verify that this has happened. You're going to have to just take my word for it. So, I didn't bother to tell anybody on the commission that this was happening, because it was my understanding that none of us were going to be able to talk. I'm imagining she's going to say that I misunderstood that, but that's what it was.
This is the chair recognizing Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. This Commissioner Trent Davis. I was going to ask one question, but since the other issue was brought up, meetings are nice, but the two types of meetings: one where you give your opinion, and the other where you hear someone else's decision they've already made. If this was an issue in which we were just going to sit there and listen to the comments, the only value of our being there was that our faces may have tempered the tone of someone's comments, just because they would know they'd have to look us in the eye when they say it. But if we were not going to be asked for our opinion, all of us are quite intelligent. We can read things faster than people can read them to us. So I don't know if I would have traveled from Salina, but would at least considered it. And of course, with us not knowing what was in the audit until it was released, I would not have known if there was something I would have taken so much offense to that I would have felt compelled to drive. But as long as the ED knew and our chair knew, I'd certainly have enough faith in the two of you to voice their opinion. The original reason for raising my hand was just to see if the chair wanted comments regarding findings of the audit, or specifically which of those issues we should have known about ourselves and discussed in our meeting before the audit. If you could just sort of narrow down what you want from us.
Yeah, this is the chair, and I was thinking that I probably needed to be more clear. There were references in the report about how our funds were being handled. I didn't remember those coming up in any of our previous meetings, and there's always an opportunity to raise those kinds of issues. There were also complaints about the fitness of our executive director, which had not surfaced in any of our meetings. And you could imagine my concern that there were these issues floating around in the commission that I didn't know about, that our executive director didn't know about, and that basically a third party report surfaced those things. I do not think that an organization is healthy when this sort of thing happens, where there are certain issues that we're willing to put on the table, and then there are other issues where we cannot confront each other honestly and candidly about these issues, and we have to air our dirty laundry in an audit. So I was not happy to have read what I read in the audit, having not really heard about it in our meetings. The chair recognizes Commissioner Penn.
Yes, sir. I read the audit the day that it was available to us, and I was kind of shocked a little bit by the findings. And one of them, with the major thing, was some error with the spending and with the budget, which I don't know why it was kept referring to, like there no one asked. I and also another commissioner, I believe, in the past asked about the budget and the discretionary spending on either. I know personally, I had personal discussions with Executive Director Nell when I first joined last year in July in regards to the town hall. How exactly are we able to pay for the venues? We were the first one to host a town hall, I want to believe, in the course of 3 or 4 years. And my question was like, hey, you know, how are we doing this? Can we bring donuts? Can we bring coffee? Are we just coming out of our pocket? And those questions were never answered. Much to my dismay. And I did try several times to ask those questions in meetings, and it should all be recorded. And I don't know if it was recorded in the minutes, but it definitely, I asked several times as recently as I want to say it was a meeting when we were out of town in May. I asked again, how exactly are we spending and where are the funds coming from? Because just personal discussions here and there with other commissioners and also with Executive Director Nell, she said they were coming from, I want to say, I was led to believe it was a federal fund, but it was actually a grant, a federal grant, I want to say. And also there was some discussion too that it was part of the budget that was already established, their appropriations. But the question was asked several times.
This is the chair. Commissioner Penn, you referenced Executive Director Nell, so I'll cede the floor to her if she wants to respond, and then I'll respond.
Yeah, the first time I remember you asking me about that was when I said I was going to buy some pins and Post-it notes for the swag table. And you said, where is this money coming from? And I said I was paying for it out of the grant. And you asked to see that. And I will admit, here's the very interesting thing about this whole budget process. This slight tangent about the entire budget process is that I am human and everyone on the screen is human, and budgets are, excuse me, not budgets, misspoke, audits are never designed, called for, put forth, completed in order to have the end result be, gosh, this person's doing a fantastic job. It's not the point of an audit. It's not the reason audits exist. So and because I'm a human and because I'm an adult, I can admit when I could have made a mistake, which is sometimes I know going to come back and bite me if the person's humble enough to go, Maybe I didn't handle that the best. Yes, Commissioner Penn, you did ask me about where the money was coming from for the pins. And I said it was the Health Foundation money. And you raised the issue. And quite frankly, I will admit at this point, when you asked the question, it was fairly recently, and I knew the audit was coming. Part of me was like, the audit is getting ready to start. And I know everything is going to be looked at with a fine-tooth comb. The audit has happened, and she looked at everything with a fine-tooth comb. Like, I feel like I have a better answer about budget now than I did even when you first asked the question. I even went back to the governor's office, because our budget is under the governor's office, and had a meeting with Will and a person whose name I forget because it's like in the office of the budget, and I don't normally deal with people in the office of the budget, and said, listen, I'm going to have to answer these questions about budget. I need you to fine-tooth comb, explain it to me like I'm 5. What this sheet of paper that I have is going to mean. Katrin's here because she asked me about budget, and I sent her budget reports, and I said, listen, this budget report, now here's the thing about an audit. Boy, whoo, these people are good. I'm like, it's not very helpful. She said, how can you say it's not helpful? I'm like, well, no, that's a mistake. I'm not going to say that this piece of paper isn't helpful, but this piece of paper to me raises more questions than it answers, because it's the same sheet that goes to, like, for example, the Department of Corrections. So on the budget report that I get, there's a line item for uniforms. And even I've been like, why does my budget sheet have a line item for uniforms? I don't buy uniforms. And she says it's because it's the same sheet that goes to, like, corrections. And like, there's a certain amount of government offices that use the same, like, budget sheet. So I said, oh, listen, you got to walk me through this like I'm a 5-year-old, so that I can understand this and be able to explain it. And they did, but in the meantime, this audit is going on. I can't talk about anything having to do with the audit because it's all confidential. So the cold hard truth is that I acknowledged, and I think it was even in the audit, that yes, you have raised the issue, but it was fairly recently. I will admit, I don't remember the question about how we were paying for the town hall, except for at that point, I probably would have said we were paying for it out of the grant, the Kansas Health Foundation grant, because that is how we paid for the town hall in whenever that was. So, I mean, that's how I would answer that. So yeah, you did, Commissioner Penn, you did very recently raise questions about budget. And I think that's why I'm like, okay, I need to go figure out how to explain the budget, because the piece of paper that's sent to me every month is confusing to me. At that point, the audit was getting ready to breathe down my neck. And the audit, although it said 100 hours, took over a month. So I was dealing with that for a very long time. And I couldn't do anything about anything until the audit became public. And this is our first meeting since the audit has become public. So to a certain extent, it's a combination of, the answer is complicated. But then again, Commissioner Penn, this is why I am fully on board with you being on the budget committee, budget/finance subcommittee, so that I can set up the meetings with you and the budget people, and you can actually be walked through the entire thing and get all of your questions answered.
Yes, ma'am. And that's why you nominated me for it, because that was my first and only question about the pins. I actually asked prior to September 2022 last year, before the town hall.
Yeah, and I think I probably answered it, but didn't think that answer was not sufficient.
You did not. And there's other commissioners on here as well. I asked several times, and this is long before that there was ever an audit. And those are just simple questions that whenever you're part of an organization, you need to know where the money is coming from, how the money is being spent, and if it's being allocated appropriated accordingly. Those
That's
are just
fine. And when you asked the question, I answered it, and I just didn't realize that was not a sufficient enough answer for you.
Oh, ma'am, it was not a sufficient answer because you never gave me any.
I said it was being paid out of the Health Foundation grant. I didn't realize that was not a sufficient answer.
And what I mean by you didn't give me an answer, there was never a business report that was ever given. According to the other executive directors that ever officiated or had any of the commissions to pass, including the Kansas Hispanic and Latino Commission, there was always a budgetary report or some kind of note that we would understand how the money was spent. And even according to bylaws, if the commissioners ask you for that report, it is your duty, along with the chair's duty, to give that to us. That was never provided.
Well, Commissioner Penn, you referencing KAAC. This is interesting. I think this feeds into what Commissioner McCormick is saying. This is the first time that you've gone in this hard on the fact that you think I'm doing a bad job of reporting back to you. The bylaw, neither the bylaws nor the statute demand that I make such a report. I am not even necessarily opposed to doing so. That's why I'm like, yes, please, let's come up with best practices. Let's do this. I welcome that. The analogy that I've landed on with this is kind of like getting braces, right? My children just recently have gone through the getting braces. And when my younger one started, her teeth were very crooked. You could look at her and go, man, that girl's got some crooked teeth. And we had to take her to the dentist. And she is still in her braces, right? Braces they take a long time. It gets worse before it gets better. It's an uncomfortable process to go through getting braces, but at the end, she's going to come out with straight teeth, right? I am not like, let me take a couple breaths and make sure I check my tone. I'm not bothered by the question. And I think what I welcome, I think for the last several meetings, I'm like, we need to refresh our bylaws. We need to refresh our bylaws to get these things clear, right? We need to come up with best practices. I think that's a wonderful idea, but I would love for the people on this screen to come up with best practices. I personally, if you're asking me, I personally think that the commission right now, according to the bylaws, only needs to have a chair and a secretary. I think it would be a wonderful idea if the commission had a treasurer, right? Like, but since that's like a bylaws question, I've said that our bylaws were from 2011. I think they are time for a refresh. I think that is a wonderful idea. I support the idea of us refreshing the bylaws and getting all of these things clarified so that it clearly states what the expectations of everyone on this screen are, so that there's no confusion, right? I think it's a good thing. My children have not enjoyed having braces, right? It has not been comfortable for them to be in braces. But now my 14-year-old has her braces off and her teeth look fantastic. So I think what we're facing here, I may be misreading your tone, Commissioner Penn. You sound frustrated, and understandably so. I think this is a frustrating situation. What I'm saying here, as I have said often, is that I'm not your enemy. I am not trying to pull one over on you or trick you in any way. And I think it would be wonderful if the seven of y'all and me could figure out how to pull in the same direction. And I am all for a refresh on the bylaws. I think a treasurer would be fantastic. I think there needs to be a budget/finance committee, right? I think that's great. I was not aware that my answer was not up to snuff when I gave it to you, because I just didn't, I just thought I thought I'd answered your question.
This is the chair, pardon me, this is the chair. I'd like to allow Commissioner Westbrook, who has his hand up, to be able to comment. Commissioner Westbrook.
Oh, can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
All right. Hey, so again, Director Nell, you've done an amazing job with the commission and your tenure with us in this search of best practices. From my experience from the prior director, and I don't know who the director was prior to her, but in the communication of information in regards to projects, each district, and what have you, in regards to the activities of the commission, a quarterly report would be sent out to the commissioner. So any issues of finances or any request prior to the disperse of funds would be seen or approved prior to the decision being made by the executive director. And so I don't know if that's a common practice amongst other commissions, whether it be the Latino Commission or the I don't know what other commissions are out there, but just that transparency and clarity, I think would have just addressed any issues prior to this. So again, I don't know if that's something that was transferred from the previous director to you, or, and understand that I guess there's no clear stating in the verbiage that says that the director has to do this, but that was a common practice prior to now. And again, I don't know what the other commissions do, but again, even if it's as simple as adopting what other commissions do, if there's like a standard book that we can apply to our commission moving forward. But I think that just ensures that there is transparency on finances. There's transparency on projects. There's equality amongst all the commissioners, and that we understand and know what's going on well in advance before things are just done. And so that's just my brief statement.
Thank you, Commissioner Westbrook. Commissioner Penn, is your hand still up? Do you have another question?
No, I just put my hand up again. No, I just wanted to clarify that I don't want to sound frustrated, but I just didn't want the false accusation that I did not ask for the report or any kind of treasury report to establish how we were spending the funds. That was asked several times in the past. It may not have been in writing, but definitely was put in the minutes and definitely was seen by the other commissioners in the past. And also, the only time that we ever got the findings of what I kind of thought was a little suspicious was actually pulled out in the auditor's report. It wasn't until like a couple of weeks ago that we're actually to see that there was discrepancies in some of the spending, because none of the commissioners, it is by the Robert Rules of Orders and the bylaws that we have to vote on certain things. There's standards and procedures that have to go forth that were not being followed. And that is what the auditor found. So I shouldn't be the blame of that. I definitely did ask those questions in the past, and the audit wasn't done in malice or anything like that. It was just something that the auditor found. So there was discrepancies in the past, and thank goodness that it was found, because now that we can go forward, and now we can do the best practices. Now we can go according to the bylaws and what it has us to do as far as even forming the committees. We don't have a treasurer, we do a budget committee. And we have other committees as well that we hold each other accountable to make sure that we are representing our community as we're supposed to be doing anyway.
This is the chair recognizing Commissioner McRoy.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just in reviewing the report, I just think it's going to be important for us to define what best practices are. I think that, this term best practices is used, but, we have nothing to reference it to. And so while we have an opportunity to, always improve, I think going forward, it's going to be very important for us to synchronize around definitions for key areas. And I yield back.
This is Commissioner McCormick. Is there any other discussion on this subject? Oh, I see Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Davis, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be brief. And just to follow up on the last comment, we can have best practices. We have to be mindful of statutory regulations, which would be our floor. Our best practices can obviously exceed that, but we have to be mindful that we have a floor below which we can't go. So as long as we keep track of both objectives.
Any other comments on this subject? I had yielded my comments to allow others to participate. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to say? Commissioner Davis?
Sorry, you made an inference to something a little while ago, that some of these issues should be coming up in meetings if we're going to be a coherent group. Without running afoul of open meeting violations, we do have a chair, and certainly if any of us has any concern about any particular facet of the way we're operating, I would hope we all feel comfortable enough to address those issues with the chair one-on-one. That is the one person we can go to, and then the chair can obviously decide to make it an agenda item, handle it with the executive director, or whatever he or she sees fit. But I agree, we should not discuss things that are important. We're a small enough, cohesive enough group and friendly enough individually, just from the personalities here, that we shouldn't be afraid to really bring any issue up that needs to be discussed.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. With regard to the questions about the budget, I'm making a distinction between an innocent question at a meeting about how a certain item, venue, or product was purchased. And I'm juxtaposing that against the kind of complaints that surfaced in the audit. Today, it sounds as though these were formal questions raised about how we spend money, as opposed to the innocent question that I heard in a meeting, and the implication that there was, quote, something suspicious. The reason this is so disconcerting is that any one of the commissioners could know this, but Stacy cannot spend money on her own. Before she spends anything, it has to be signed off by someone on the governor's staff. She doesn't even have a credit card. So the implication that there's something suspicious in how we're spending money is problematic because it just isn't so. And Stacy did answer the question about how a certain amount of money was spent, because first, we don't have a lot of money. The majority of the budget for this organization is Stacy's salary. She also managed to secure some money from the Kansas Health Foundation, the state's largest philanthropy. And she's been transparent about that. There are no transparency issues. That's why I was so frustrated about the tone in the audit report, because it is suggesting things that are just not so. But I will not belabor it. I've said my piece. Everyone had a chance to say their piece. And with the executive director's indulgence, I'll cede the floor to her for her executive director update.
Thank you. This is Executive Director now. The update is just that the audit's complete. When I sent out the agenda, I did send out the copy of the audit and the link to the video. The update is right now I've been involved in just a couple of things. The Black Women Get Fit was something that is moving forward. I think I find myself in a stance of treading water pretty hard right here, because as I've said, I am all for doing the work of coming up with these best practices of how to move forward. So right now, and I have sent out to the commission, there are sponsorship opportunities that have crossed my mind. Quite frankly, Commissioner Westbrook brought one to me. Whereas before this time, I would have made this decision on my own, whether or not to sponsor or whatever, just keeping an eye of how much of the Kansas Health Foundation grant I have left. I have not made any of those decisions. Now, interestingly enough, this is what I just can't stress enough, the fact that I am completely on board with it. We need to do the work to figure this out. I am not bothered by needing to do this work because, for example, the thing that got pinged in the audit, and I would like to talk about this for a second, is the fact that there were certain expenditures that did not get pre-approval, right? That was the thing that got pinged. Not did I spend money frivolously or were these expenditures not approved, but I did not get pre-approval. So for example, with these 3 sponsorship opportunities that have come my way, I have been left with somewhat of a question. Who do I ask first? Do I ask the commission first? Hey, can we spend this money on the NAACP Freedom Fund? Or do I get pre-approval from the governor's office? Because even if you guys come back and say yes, I still have to get approval from the governor's office, right? Like, so I like when I say I'm willing to do this work, I'm all about let's figure this out. Right? On one of them, honestly, here's what I did. The first one that came through, it was for $150 for the Black Women Get Fit. Since we're a co-sponsor, the Community Voice covered the cost of the venue in Wichita. And I said, okay, well, I'll cover the cost of the venue in Topeka, because to my mind, it's $150. That's not a lot of money. But I went, wait a minute. Can I learn from this audit that I should not say that that KAAAC is going to even cover the cost of a venue for $150 without me running it past KAAAC first? But I said, okay, but even if they say yes, I have to run it past, apparently, Will Lawrence, the chief of staff. So before I even got to you guys, I sent an email to Will. Hey, Will, chief of staff, I know I love to bother you in the middle of the day while you're trying to help run can I spend $150 to cover the cost of a venue for the Black Women Get Fit? And he sent me back the one sentence email. This is approved, because that's what I need. I need a paper trail. Now I did that before I even got to you guys, because I honestly, legitimately, let me just be human and say, I don't know who I need to talk to first before I commit to spend money. And this money has not been committed to be spent. It's been pre-approved by Will, just on the off chance that you guys say yes. But if you say no, that's cool, right? But if you say yes, I do have the pre-approval that I can go spend the money. When the next two came through, quite frankly, even when Commissioner Westbrook sent me the thing for the NAACP, and and I was like, ooh, but I was like, I ain't trying. Do I really want to do this guessing game each time? I'm like, I could go through the pre-approving it from Will, but like, we haven't voted on it as a commission. So, you know what I mean? That's why I'm like, I would please, I welcome the work of figuring out what's the best practice, right? I think that we need to do that work. That is good work that needs to happen. Let's figure it out.
Now, this is the chair recognizing Commissioner Lewis.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to find to raise the hand button a moment ago during these conversations. So to also Executive Director, I think you're doing a fabulous job with the commission. I do believe that this is an opportunity for us to move forward. We have too much work to do, and we don't. These are my words. I don't think we need to. And I do think a lot of this can be addressed through a phone call. But as it relates to the standards that were mentioned a moment ago, I think the GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, are standards to follow as it relates to that. And I was also going to say, which Stacy, Executive Director Nell mentioned, a treasurer would be good. So if we can revisit that within the bylaws, and as it relates to the spending, potentially establish limits. I wouldn't want you coming back to us for $150. So could we establish a threshold of commission input as it relates to spending?
Well, thank you, Commissioner Lewis. Let's see. Did you have a response to that, Executive Director Nell?
No, I mean, that's the type of discussion I want to have.
Yeah.
Amen to everything he said. Yes. Yes. Great. Will the commission decide, oh, you don't have to come back to us for $150, but you do have to come back to us for $500. I'm down. Oh, yes, let's have a treasurer. Maybe the treasurer can make all of those decisions without having to come back to the commission, or even that the procedure is that the executive director just forwards everything to the treasurer. I'm down. Whatever y'all decide is the best practice, I'm good.
This is the chair recognizing Commissioner Penn.
Yeah, so I'm trying to comb over a little bit of what we can and can't do. Like you guys mentioned before, Executive Nell, that we do not have a treasurer as far as executive team or the committee. But what we do have, and hopefully we can get on to the next the business of the day, which is the committee assignments. If you look, I want to say section 9.2 on the bylaws, it discusses what the committees are. I believe there's 5. and there's one actually a special agent as well, a special committee as well, which discusses our responsibilities, which we can format the way that we want to. And it's not best practices, as the governor, I want to say this, that's how she defined it in the audit, but it's called procedures and also personnel issues, which is decided as of right now by the committee, by the executive committee, which we also have to establish what that is as well, because usually executive committee consists of the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary, which I think is the vice chair and the secretary are one of the same here with the commission. But we can establish, you don't necessarily need to format or reinvent the wheel and get a treasurer. We can do that in respect to what is already there with the committees, between the executive committee, the budget, and the budget committee. And from there, if we can, are we already moving on to the other order of the day, the business of the day?
Sure.
Okay. According to our minutes, I want to say it was 11th of August, we prematurely voted, and I want to say that we tabled the discussion, which means it probably should have been included in the minutes. Actually, has been, we have to vote out. What I want to do is strike that from the record, because we have to go back and decide, now that we all have the commissioners here today, we can decide and vote on who can sit on each committee. So just like I was saying before, the executive committee has to be decided, which I think the chair will be a part of, along with the other 5 as well. So if we can strike that from the record, and I guess if we move on to talk about the minutes, but I wouldn't accept the minutes as they are unless we make that amendment to what was actually tabled in the discussion, which we're going to talk about today, which is the voting on the different committees.
The chair, recognizing Commissioner Lewis.
Wait, hang on. Can you, I'm taking notes. I just want to make sure I understood what she said. You want
Commissioner
to-
Payne, could you restate that for the record?
My clarifying question is, you want to strike from the minutes what?
Oh, okay. I just want to strike from the minutes, because when I was looking at it, I'm sorry, I just got a chance to look at it this week. It says the commissioners volunteer for the following committees. And we put it down here, and that it was reiterated and also today for the agenda that we're going to discuss it. And I was kind of led to believe that that was set in stones when we actually moved to table it. So that needs to be stricken from the record from our previous minutes from August 11th, because we did not make those determinations, because we wanted to give the opportunity to the other commissioners who were not present at the previous meeting to come in and have their chance to speak and talk about what committee they would like to join as well.
The chair, let me see. Dr. Lewis, did you put your hand down?
Yes, my apologies. It was still up in our previous
No
conversation.
problem. The chair recognizes Commissioner Davis.
Thanks, Commissioner Davis here. Just a clarifying question, Commissioner Penn, is your request to strike whatever vote we took? 'Cause I think the discussion would stand whether we took a vote or not. I think probably the only thing, if we decided to not accept the results of that vote because we didn't have a full representation.
No.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I apologize. No, what I'm saying, because it was tabled, it cannot be included in minutes until we have to accept it as new business. And so that we can go ahead, it's like it's never happened. When you have to table discussion, you have to redo everything all over according to Robert's Rules of Order for the next meeting. And that's all I'm asking, for us to take the vote again so that everybody gets their say. And nothing is set in stone. We need to go ahead and take the votes as well. So with the other commissioners present today.
Okay, thank you.
Executive Director Nell, where did you leave off?
I don't remember. I was just talking. I don't remember.
We were in your Executive Director update.
Oh, no, I think the only, my update is that these are the things that are so going on. We're not in the middle of the legislative session, so it's not like I'm actively doing something. I'm not actively participating in submitting testimony or whatnot. The things that have come up have been these things that feed into the discussion that we're having right now. This, what do I do with these sponsorship opportunities, right? just the thing that I want most right now is for that clarity, for this conversation to have, understanding that this conversation may take us several months to get through, right? Because I don't think anyone wants to just sit on this call for 3 hours and hash it all out now. Like, I want this conversation to happen. One question that I think would be helpful for us all to sort of have in the front of our mind. I don't know if this is necessarily an update, but it's something that has been rattling around, is the ask. And again, you don't need to answer this right now, but put it in the back of your brain. Why are you on this commission? What is your individual why for being on this commission? What do you hope to gain? What do you hope to achieve? What's your internal why for being on this commission? And that may have changed from when you got on the commission to what it is now to what it will be in 2 years or so, right? So I'm not saying that this is a end all be all. My why and my goals, I feel like I've said this enough. And in fact, I know if I say it with me now, you'll know what I'm getting ready to say. My why and some of my goals have always been raise the profile of the commission, raise the profile of the commissioners. It was never my intent to raise my profile. Unfortunately, I think that's what I've done. Right. And that's something that I would really like to change, because this is not the Kansas African American Affairs Executive Director. It's the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. And the other thing that I've always wanted to do is right the ship. I feel like I've said that a lot over the last 2 years. I'm trying to right the ship. That was even the reason of getting a strategic planner. I'm like, we could do a lot on this commission. There's so much opportunity to actually help Black people in the state that I think if we were all pulling in the same direction, we could actually be very effective and have a lot of impact. I think power is something I'm learning in this job. Power is something that is there to be taken. And if we decide as a group to be powerful and help Black people, we could do that. I think part of that is that we need to do this work of getting all of this hashed out. I'm not afraid of this work. I'm not bothered by this work. I tried to push the point. And it didn't work. And so the audit did it. The audit was just like, that it was just, we got the audit put braces on us. So now we're gonna have to just deal with getting our teeth straightened. So let's do it. So that's all I have in terms of executive director update. Right now, I will willingly admit I'm treading water, waiting on y'all.
This is the chair. Can we go to old business?
Sure. Yes. Do we have to vote to amend the minutes? I have no problem amending the minutes. Like,
Yes, ma'am. And that's what I was asking. If I can go ahead and make a motion to amend the minutes properly so that we can include them in our new order of business and go ahead and make a vote today.
I'll accept a motion. This is the chair. I'll accept the motion. I believe Commissioner Westbrook tried to make that motion. I could not hear. Is that correct, Commissioner Westbrook?
Yes, Dan.
So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been seconded
Commissioner New.
by Commissioner New. Any discussion?
I do have some. I just want to go back and look at the minutes so that I know exactly what it is that needs to be struck. Commissioner Penn, do you have the minutes in front of you so you can tell me exactly what needs to go?
Yeah.
Guessing.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. It says commissioners volunteer for the following committees. That just needs to be taken out so we can all vote on it today, and then we can include that officially in the minutes for today.
So starting with that, commissioners volunteer for the following committees down to what? The discussion of meetings will be ongoing. I just want to make sure that I'm striking the right part.
Yes, ma'am. And I believe you have to go back and look at the Robert's Rules of Order, but you have to put on there tabled. You tabled the discussion, and therefore none of the votes were valid because we have to actually continue it on today as if it didn't happen.
Okay.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Davis.
Commissioner Davis, just a point of order. and correct me if I'm wrong, if we tabled it, it would have had to have been decided before we closed the meeting. Technically, we would have had to postpone it to this meeting. And my basic understanding of Robert's rules is the table has to be cleared before you go home. And I just want to make sure, I'm trying to find out if our discussion is being removed or just our decision to volunteer for certain committees.
Can I hear the motion one more time? This is the chair.
The motion, sir, was to remove the committee assignments because of the discussion as of the last time that we met was we tabled the discussion until today so that we can go ahead and make the vote today while the commissioners are here.
So Commissioner Davis, so then, you know, we expressed our preferences for commissions, period, end of sentence. To actually vote and have those take effect would then be, I think, the actual action that we would have taken. So that discussion, listing our preferences, it seems to me could still stay in the minutes. To actually, the vote to make that official, for lack of a better term, is what is being postponed to today.
This is the chair. I think Commissioner New might be able to shed some light on this.
Well, this is Commissioner New. I am commenting on the motion that Commissioner Penn proposed that Commissioner Westbrook made and that I seconded. And my understanding was that the motion was to strike from the minutes all the conversation and the action related to committee assignments, because since we tabled it and didn't complete it in our previous meeting, then that allows us to resume the conversation and complete it in this meeting.
Commissioner Davis, so we're resuming the conversation, but can you just make discussion made in a public meeting disappear just because you didn't take action?
No, it won't disappear. It will remain.
That's what's troubling to me, Commissioner Davis. I'm sorry, Commissioner New.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, it won't disappear, but it will be recorded in today's meeting as being stricken from being in effect from the previous meeting.
Because items can be continued from one meeting to another. It's the only action we didn't take was to vote on that. I mean, you know, I think expressing our desires for which committee we want to be on was just valid, open discussion, whether we took a vote on it or not.
This is Commissioner New. If we use the language tabled, I think that's what may restrict our ability to continue action. But I stand to be corrected.
All right. This is the chair. Thank you, Commissioner New. Commissioner Davis, does that satisfy your question?
Well, there are times when you don't know enough to make a decision, so I'm going to defer to the parliamentarians on the screen here. But I know there's a difference between tabling and postponing and continuing. And we probably should not have used the word tabled the last time if we weren't going to take it up before that meeting ended.
So this is the chair, we have a motion on the floor that has been seconded. Is there any other discussion? So I'll take a vote. All of those in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any opposed? Dr. Lewis, you're opposed?
Yes.
Well, that motion carries. I would like to know, as the chair, well, I'll give you the opportunity, Commissioner Lewis, to discuss your vote if you'd like.
Yeah, appeared to me it was just discussion, so I don't think it need to be stricken from the minutes. There was no action taken during that meeting.
Okay. Thank you for that, sir, the chair. Executive Director Nell, how would you like to proceed from here with our old business?
I just want to, I'm new to the whole Roberts rule. I want to make sure I'm gonna do the right thing. So the motion was to strike the portion of the minutes. This is my understanding, because we use the word table, the motion is to strike the portion of the minutes that even dealt with the discussion, because there were using table means that we have to move to the next one. So I will go back and amend the minutes to take out that portion, but that portion will essentially appear in this meeting's minutes. Is that my understanding? Because it's not that it goes away, it's just that it's going to be reflected in this meeting. I just want to make sure that.
I believe that's what Commissioner New said.
Okay, so that portion still is there. It's just going to be reflected in this meeting's minutes. Okie dokie. I think I'm good. So at this point, we're on the discussion of who's going to be on what committee, just
Yes.
in general.
Yeah, Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. I don't think I'm going to ask for a reconsideration, but have we taken any action or done any more thinking based on the discussion that we had at the last meeting? I'm still a little uncomfortable with removing open discussion. We tabled or postponed a vote on that, but we didn't say, well, let's pretend like we didn't discuss this. And I'm having a little more discomfort with my vote, and actually would like to move to reconsider that last issue.
This is the chair. This is the chair. Thank you for that, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner New.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify after hearing Executive Director Nell's comments for clarification. My understanding is that what occurred in our meeting last time would stand in the minutes, but a record would be made in this meeting's minutes that portion of the meeting, the record is stricken on the basis of we tabled it, but did not complete it. So I don't think you have to go back and rewrite the minutes. I think you're recording in this month's minutes that a decision was made to strike those actions and the discussion from last month's minutes without taking them out of the record of the minutes. And I hope I'm making it clear and it doesn't sound like the muddy water I feel like I'm looking through right now. So
this is the chair. So nothing is actually being stricken because it will be reflected in this meeting's minutes. Is your argument correct, Commissioner New?
So it's recorded in this meeting's minutes that those actions are stricken, but not stricken in the sense that you're removing all the notes from last month's meeting from last month's minutes.
Understood. Commissioner Davis and then Commissioner Penn.
Yes, Commissioner Davis, and just to be clear, I'm motivated by the ends, not the means in this. I know all we need to do is get to the discussion, continue it, vote on it, and move on. But when I took that vote, last month, I was in my mind voting to delay making that committee assignments official until this month, not saying, everything I just said, I want to go away. So as long as I get to the practical endpoint of opening up discussion today, completing our business, at the end of the day, I'm gonna be happy. I'll sleep well. But it just seemed like an unusual. I just wanted to make sure our discussion did not appear, because we made the discussion in an open meeting. It's recorded. I mean, those words can't go away.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Penn.
Yes, sir. No, what I'm just saying, all you're doing is amending the minutes from last week because it was not officially taken for a vote. It was tabled for discussion. And one of the major reasons that I'm also saying this too, two of the commissioners were not present. We did have quorum, but two of the commissioners were not present. And also too, there was an issue with the executive director also assigning a committee position, which she can't do. I believe only the chair can do. Another thing that I found in the bylaws, just combing through that as well, now that we also have the vice chair too, according to bylaws, has to be the acting chair for the legislative committee as well. So those are things that we can vote on now. We can go ahead and reestablish what we already had, but we need to make a vote on it to make it official. And we also need to include the other two commissioners to actually get their vote in and say what committees they want to be appointed to.
This is the chair. Executive Director Nell, any questions,
No.
comments, or concerns? In preparing for today's meeting, it occurred to me that we have committee assignments, an idea of committee assignments for everyone except for Commissioner McRoy and Commissioner Lewis. Could those commissioners talk about which committees they would like to be a part of? We have an executive committee, business and economic development and public affairs. Those are the ones that I'm on. Education, legislative, special projects, and budget. Are there particular committees that interest either of you commissioners?
This is Commissioner McRoy. The one that interests me would be legislative committee.
Could you choose a couple more?
Yes, economic and special projects.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Lewis.
This is Commissioner Lewis. Absolutely, education.
I would have bet on that.
Legislation. Special projects.
Great. Do all the commissioners have the committee assignments in front of them so they could see what committees they are on? Commissioner Penn, is your hand still up, or do you have another question?
I was just raising my hand. We still have to choose each committee we want to be a part of, because that was stricken from the record and it was not officially voted. It's being voted on today. So they got to go ahead and make all the commissioners have to make a determination which committee they want to be a part of out of the six.
This is the chair. That's what I was trying to do. Commissioners McRoy and Lewis were not at the last meeting. So I needed to find out which committees they wanted to belong to.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Can everyone see the chat? This is Executive Director Nell. Can you see the chat?
I can.
Oh, because I put in the chat what people had indicated from last month,
I see.
if you couldn't remember.
Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, Commissioner Davis, it's actually listed on the agenda. The committees that we showed a preference for last month.
Yes, sir. We were just lacking committee assignments for a couple of our commissioners.
Right.
So are we comfortable with these committee assignments? I just wanted to make sure we were all comfortable with these committee assignments. If we are, I will accept a motion. Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Commissioner Davis, I move to accept the list of preferred committee assignments as expressed by each commissioner.
We have a motion on the floor. We have a second.
This is Commissioner Lewis, a second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Great, moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
Aye.
Looks like the motion passes. This is the chair. Executive Director Nell, new business?
I just want to make sure that went quick. So McRoy did vote yes.
Yes.
Okay. 1, 2, 3,
Looks like he's an
4, 5,
approval.
6, 7. Okay. I just want to make sure I had everybody. So I want to make sure I got that.
Got it.
Fantastic. So we took care of the first new business committee assignments for missing commissioners, and everything is up. That's the fantastic, beautiful. The only other thing that I help me out with what language I'm about to use, because it is 2:40 at this point. I would like to, and maybe I shouldn't have put action item because that may have indicated that we have to take action on this today, but come up with this idea of a budget/finance best practice for how I should handle things like $150. And I'm down with all and every the discussion that was had. Is it an issue of a limit? Is it an issue of, the people who are on the budget finance committee make all those decisions? Like, just, I'm here for the conversation. I think and the reason why I put that on there as an action item, because like it's in the agenda, the Black Women Get Fit, that's $150. The Game Changer Galler sponsorship for Wyandotte County Mental Health, and the NAACP Freedom Fund sponsorship request. The Black Women Get Fit thing, I had already committed to months ago. So ahead of knowing that was potentially going to be a problem, I had already committed to it. But again, down for the conversation. So there are some things that have a time stamp on them. Like, for example, the NAACP Freedom Fund sponsorship was due today. Right. So these things are oftentimes time sensitive. So I just didn't know how to handle it.
This is the chair. I'd like to make a recommendation that once we have a fully formed budget and finance committee, that we allow that committee to come up with a draft of the kind of guidelines that we might need. That would be my suggestion. And I will recognize Commissioner Davis, who has his hand up.
Thank you. Took the words right out of my mouth. There's obviously one activity coming up quite quickly for a relatively tiny amount, which would probably get a big bang. I would suggest we address that today. I read the Game Changer Gala sponsorships. Those vary from individual tickets to a whole lot of money, depending on how much you want to spend. I can't remember what the KCK Freedom Fund cost would have been, but just practically speaking, I doubt our budget finance committee is going to get our best practices and everything up and running in time to take care of the October 21st. And we've already set a precedent with that event in another city, so I really don't see any problem with us addressing that specific item date. But your point's well taken. We just went through a lot of discussion and effort to set up these committees. And I agree. I'm hoping, just like we do in our city for a city manager, certain items that meet certain qualifications up to a dollar amount, the executive director, maybe in consultation with the chair or by herself, can make that decision. But that's up to that committee to decide, or certainly bring back to the group. Yeah.
This is the chair. Thank you for those comments. Commissioner Penn.
Yes, sir. Hey, I do have a few requests recently to do some sponsorships. So to serve the best interest of everyone here in our time, I just want to move things along too. For section, I believe in the bylaws is 9.1. We still have to set up within the committees what our responsibilities are, such as membership term, duties, quorum, and specific committee responsibilities. Can we make a movement to have 30 days to at least form our committees, talk with one another and how we're going to do that, who's going to be the chair, who's going to be the vice chair, because then we can decide how is that going to exactly make the executive committee, who actually comes up with the procedures and how we are to move forward from them.
This is the chair. How do you feel about that, Executive Director Nell?
This is Executive Drill. I feel like I'm going to start repeating myself. I'm down to do the work. Like this is going to be a process, right? I think taking the time to figure these things out is the thing that we need to do. So I'm fine with that.
This is the chair. Commissioner Penn, do you have another question?
Yes, sir. And like I was saying, just with the items that we have that people were asking for sponsorship too. Hey, there's something, I'm so sorry. There's something in section 9.3 that talks about forming special committees so we can go ahead and make the request. And I'm talking about the funds and which people wants us to sponsor something. If you want, I can read it out to you. It might help a little bit more. It just says we can form a special task force, a special committee. KAAC has the option to establish special committees apart from the standing committees or subcommittees within the standing committee. KAAC also has the option to establish a task force upon the identification of suitable topics, provided the requirements of funds and staff time to establish prior to action by KAAC.
Yep, this is the chair. In my mind, I saw our discussion going in a slightly different direction. But I am open to deviating from that path if the rest of the commission finds it necessary. What I would like to do, though, is work our way through new business. And at the end of our new business discussion, I'd like to discuss where I'd like to see us going and if we need to go in that direction. Did you have another comment, Commissioner Penn?
I'm just doing according to the bylaws. So, because like I said, we had the 3 items on there for the Black Woman Fit, for the 150 request, for the space rental, the Game Changer Gala, and also the NAACP Freedom Fund. So we can form a special committee so we can go ahead and get the approval for that today.
How do you feel? This is the chair again. How do you feel about that, Executive Director now? Is there any other discussion from commissioners about this? Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Commissioner Davis, if they're small individual items, I would think the organization as a whole could settle them. I mean, you know, there's practical aspects of this. Any committee we form that's not going to meet in the next 5 minutes and draw its conclusions is not going to help the October 21st event. And I think this is where the committee of the whole just needs to make a decision. I mean, we have started the process of having a procedure for handling our finances. Practically speaking, you know, it's going to take a while to get that up and running. But we have real requests from real people for events aligned with our mission. And I think we're just going to need to take that one, you know, and deal with it today, yay and nay, because by the next meeting, that event will be in the past tense.
Yeah, this is the chair. I think that's a fair point. You know, we have so many pressing issues. You know, the direction that I was referencing about where we need to go is the rewriting of some of these bylaws, and that what we need to do is divide up our bylaws by 7, where each of us take a section and work on it. That's where I saw us headed. But we do have these competing interests in these items that are pressing, and they're just many of them. We'll just have to figure out which ones we want to prioritize over the others. Was someone trying to get in? Did I miss a hand? Dr. New, could I ask your opinion about what's being proposed in terms of our committees? do you think we should vote now, as Commissioner Penn said, or should we just vote as a commission about whether or not to grant these requests? I hope that wasn't too muddy.
No, well, as you see today, I've been swimming in the mud. I'm wondering if perhaps we could name ourselves as a special committee for today, and then make a vote on the upcoming events. And then also include in the minutes that this is an action we're taking in response to bylaw, I think she said 9.3 or something. And then, but for future, we will make this an assignment for the budget committee to approve any requests for funding.
Yes.
And this is the chair, so we need to make clear just a one-time
Yes.
vote. Okay, that needs to be included in the motion. Thank you for that, Dr. Miller.
No
So again, this is the chair. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. And as we will have to get used to doing in the future, requests for expenditures should have some indication as to where the money is coming from. It's one thing to approve an expenditure, but you know, if we're going to be looking at our budget, you know, if I want to buy a truck for the city of Salina, you know, that money has to have been appropriated somewhere. Some department has to have that money in the bank to buy it. And sometimes you don't know where it's coming from until the executive director or city manager tells you where we have money, and then but it's known where our money is. The money we're spending, we know where it's coming from.
This is the chair again. Pardon me. Something in my throat. I will accept a motion. The motion that Commissioner Penn has recommended within the parameters of what Dr. New and Commissioner New had spelled out in her comments. So Commissioner Penn, do you have the motion?
Yeah, I'd make a motion to move to form a special committee so we can go ahead and approve the 3 items for the sorry, I walked away from my desk now, but for the 3 items that we want to fund or sponsor.
Commissioner Davis, I'll second that, but I think the committee is discussing, not guaranteeing approval. Just slight play on words.
Yeah, could you restate that to accommodate that addition, that edit, Commissioner Penn?
I'm so sorry. I'm moving to get my kiddos. So say it again, please. What you need me to?
Yeah, I was just referencing your motion implied that we were going to approve the 3 requests. The committee is actually going to discuss and potentially approve.
Yeah, so what I'm doing, I'm making a motion for the 3 items that because we haven't established the best practices, or what I would like to say, what the bylaws refers to the procedures. So that's going to take some time. So in interest of time, for also in respect to this meeting, and also for the suspenses or the deadlines that we have for the upcoming events, what I'm motioning is to go ahead and form a special committee just to approve those 3 lines, those 3 sponsorships. And then from there, give us 30 days for the committee so we can get together. I forgot to include that. Give us 30 days for the committee so we can get together and decide what the officers are going to be within the committees. And then give us another additional 30 days too, to come up with the procedures that is in accordance to what the bylaws would have us to do for the committees.
Commissioner Davis?
That motion got a little bit longer, but my original suggestion still remains that this committee is discussing and potentially approving. Your motion basically is almost guaranteeing approval, which it's a little nuance in the wording.
Yeah, this is the chair. Commissioner Davis had a small edit to the motion so that we're not guaranteeing the funding, but merely discussing whether or not we would fund it. That was the small edit we needed you to make to the motion, Commissioner Penn. Commissioner Penn, are you there?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat over?
This is the chair. Commissioner Davis was pointing out that in your motion is worded as though we would guarantee funding from these requests. What he was saying is that we should edit the motion so that it indicates, pardon me, so that it indicates that we'll discuss this, not necessarily guarantee funding.
Yes, please discuss it, not necessarily go and approve it.
Second, Commissioner Davis.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I just want to make sure the wording, so the motion is to form a special committee for today to discuss the 3 items on the agenda. Is that it? Because then she did go on and added 2 other additional things. Is that all going to be under one thing?
Yeah, from the second, I think those other 2 are separate issues and probably best served with a separate motion.
Okay, so the motion on the floor right now by Commissioner Penn is to form a special committee for today, a one-time thing, to discuss the 3 items on the agenda. Stop. Okay.
Good. All in favor, please signify by saying yes or raising your hand.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. This is the chair. Executive Director Nell, any new business? Oh, pardon me. Commissioner Penn?
I'm so sorry, I'll have to drop off here pretty soon because I'm so late getting my kids. They're gonna charge me. But can you repeat what you were saying?
I hadn't said anything. This is the chair. I had not said anything.
I think that the only new business would be the dollar amount I know for the Black Women Get Fit is $150. That's why we needed to have this nuance in the motion, because the discussion is if and then how much for the other ones, because as Commissioner Davis pointed out, it could be, you know, a ticket to a table, like just, you know, it wasn't a specific, I know it's $150, this is what's going to be. It was a discussion to be had in terms of to what level we would sponsor. So I was trying to back up and pull up. And again, quite frankly, you know, there still is the possibility that you guys say, no, we're not going to do it. like that's still an option of saying, no, we're not going to sponsor. So I have found, that's the NAACP. So now I'm going to try to find the gala.
Commissioner Davis, if I could ask an informational question.
Sure, this is the chair. Go ahead.
Yeah, do we, in round figures, how much money do we have to play around with?
And that's sending me in a different direction. Just a second.
Okay.
Dr. New, the chair recognizes Dr. New.
Thank you. This Commissioner New. I just wondered, do we have dates for the Game Changer Gala and the NAACP Freedom Fund? Because if they are beyond October 21st, it may be that they could fall under the guidelines that would be developed by the Budget Committee. And we could just vote on the Black Women Get Fit event for October 21st today.
Good. This is the chair. That's a great point. Thank you, Commissioner New.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Davis. The Kansas City NACP is Saturday, September 30th. And the gala is November 14th.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
So this looks like it's asking for like a souvenir journal. I might, or tickets. Again, it's just, and realizing that we can still say no, right? We do not have to attend everything to which we are invited. So tickets are $60 a person. This is the type of thing, normally what I would have done and how I've handled NAACP things is that whatever city it was in, I contacted the commissioner who lived the closest and said, hey, this is going on. Would you like to attend? And the people either said yay or nay, and then I bought tickets for however many people were going to attend.
This is the chair. So are we, pardon me, are we needing to make a motion about whether or not we spend these funds?
I don't know.
I'm
And
sorry,
then
this is.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Davis and then Commissioner Penn.
Yeah, if you would please, the chair, I would just assume we take them 1, 2, 3, and there may be some low-hanging fruit here that we can dispense with.
Yes.
And then can you see the screen for the second one?
Yes.
Kind of get to the top.
Yes. Yes. Commissioner Penn.
Yes, sir. I just want to make sure they're making an informed decision according to with the, with what we have with statutes and the bylaws. How much is the gala? How much are we expending for this? And what is the budget for that?
We are not expending, that's what we're discussing.
Okay, so we don't know what the price tag is yet.
Well, you might not be able to see the screen because I shared it, and I do think I sent all this information out as well.
This is the chair, Commissioner Penn. That what we're trying to determine is at what level will we support, if we support one of these organizations. So there's multiple prices to consider. Something as small, I think, as 75, all the way up to a couple thousand. So that was in the documents, the pre-meeting documents. Is that right, Executive Director? No.
Mm-hmm. I tried to send everything out because I knew it was going to be a lot of information.
Yes. So, Executive Director, now this is the chair. Could you lead us through this discussion about what your preferences might be in each of these? How much should we spend at each? At what level should we support? Could you walk us through that?
I honestly do not have a preference. I honestly don't have a preference, right? Like it's neither here nor there. The NAACP, we have sponsored NAACP events before. But I legitimately don't have a preference. I have never purchased a table because that seemed like a lot of money. It's always been individual tickets based on who of the local commissioners was available or interested to go. And it has been it's been truly, honestly, neither here nor there. But I thought since I had the money from the Health Foundation, I'm like, okay, the NAACP, now I think I have come to find the NAACP possibly is more political than I was giving them credit for. I was like, okay, well, that's something that's just Black people. I'm just going to support the Black people, right? And so it honestly makes me know, never mind. we could say no, and I could just ignore it. Like, I'm sure they send these letters out to hundreds of people. They don't always get sponsorships back. Right.
Commissioner Davis, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, these are opportunities for the commission to get publicity. And it does lend the name of the state and the government, to a cause. Our budget expenditures will have to fit what we consider priorities based on our strategic planning. So we will develop a list of events that we want to go heavy on. I think the NACP and perhaps even the gala might be opportunities to advertise ourselves, so people will know we do exist. If there's a commissioner who lives in one of those cities or can easily get there, or if our chair or ED want to represent us, you never know. Sometimes they'll announce your name and your organization from the podium just because we're there. There is some prestige about this organization. So my personal preference would be 2 tickets if there's somebody close who wants to go, and a small ad for the 2 larger events. I think the Black Women Get Fit at low-lying fruit. Approve the money for the space run and we'll be done with it.
This is the chair. I have a suggestion. Could we make a motion where we allow our executive director the discretion to spend money at each of these events, with the addition that she lets us know at what level the commission will be supporting these events? How about that? Could that help us expedite things? How do you feel about that, executive director? Now, where we would
Whatever y'all decide.
We would give you the discretion to decide. We're not going to be able to decide the exact amount in this meeting, I'm afraid. So if that's, Commissioner Lewis. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. I actually like that idea. That gives an opportunity for executive director to hold the commission. I know we threw out purchasing 2 tickets. However, if there's 3 or 4 commissioners that will be attending that, then obviously there will be 3 or 4 tickets. So this will, to your point, we will not be able to decide the amount today, I don't believe.
This is the chair. Thank you so much for that. I would accept a motion to that effect from the. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm just concerned because I don't want to go ahead and think we have an endless piggy bank. One, we don't know the budget. We don't know how much is in the piggy bank. And 2, we don't want to go ahead and start extending funds if we don't know what the budget is. And also the commissioners, I believe we need to vote on a line item. That's what the audit did find, that we were not voting on amounts.
This is the chair. I believe that, and Stacy can correct me if I'm wrong, that isn't there a delineation between the money we get from the state versus the money that was raised from the Kansas Health Foundation? Is there a distinction made?
Yes.
Between those? Okay. Could you expound on that explanation? Is that possible? Could you expand on that?
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So this is the money from the Health Foundation. I got this money mid 2022, and I've spent $29,000, and there's $20,000 left. The items that are in orange are the items that were questioned in the audit, but they didn't even impact the state general fund. They came out of Health Foundation.
This is the chair, so we do know how much we have and how much we have to spend.
There's
Correct?
there's $20,000 left.
Great. So this is the chair again. So again, I would accept a motion where we give our executive director the discretion to disperse these funds, but to let us know at what level she was going to support each event. Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Wanted to do it slightly differently. One would be to handle the Black Women Get Fit, because we do know the cost of that. And that one we can handle very cleanly, be done with it. In that we're talking about budgetary operations and plans, we would probably need to give the director some direction as to the maximum amount, because the gala, that could be a $10,000 expenditure, or it could be a $125 expenditure. Not that she's going to spend $10,000 on it, but I think we should be fairly tight, not in the amount we spend, but just in the breadth in which we are handling our money right now, and give her some direction. I think the method she's used in the past has been excellent as far as individual tickets. The only other issue here is going to be how much we would authorize for a souvenir booklet ad, or whatever they're called, in addition. I mean, obviously, if no one wants to go, then our donation probably should be something in the book. But these are good opportunities to get notoriety. But I'd really like to just get the Black Women Get Fit out of the way, and then, because the other two events will have similar guidelines as far as what we're authorizing her to do.
Thanks for those comments, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Lewis?
Yes, I think there has been some conversations around potential ads, individual tickets, and then I think on the gala, I think the lowest amount that I would be comfortable with is a table of $2,500. So would it make sense to authorize the executive director to use these funds to sponsor these events with an amount? And I'm just, this is just an example. They're not to exceed, say, $2,500 or $3,000.
This is the chair. I love that idea. How does the commission feel about that? I see heads nodding. Commissioner Penn, you amenable to that?
I just want to do it accordance to what because right now we're like in a special committee. We have to operate within the parameters that's already set in the bylaws according to 9.3. Which means that we have to have both the staffing and the budget already established. And that budget too has to have a line. You have to give us a number of what's
Is she breaking up for anyone else?
I'm so sorry.
I can't, you broke up there. I can't, you were unclear. I can't hear what you're saying.
Okay, you can't hear. Okay. I use it with my speakerphones, but I don't have them on today. Bear with me. So what I'm saying, we're still operating as a special committee, which means we have to both know the staffing that is required at the gala, along with what the budget is. So we just can't just say we have an endless piggy bank. We're just going to cap it at $2,000. We have to give a specified amount, so we're make sure that we're according to the bylaws, which is according to 9.3.
I don't, this is executive director now, and I'm not on the commission, so I don't think I can actually officially make a motion. But can't we just say, let's just get 2 tickets and call it a day? That way you know exactly what it is. It would be like you would have an actual hard number of how much money we're spending. Is that something kind of like what Commissioner Davis was saying? The Black Women Get Fit. I know it's $150, so you can vote yay or nay on $150. But if Commissioner Penn, if what I'm sensing is you're uncomfortable with this idea of not knowing what the hard numbers are, if you could say, would you be amenable to, and again, I'm not on the commission, so I can't make a motion. We're going to get 2 tickets to the gala. We're going to get 2 tickets to the NAACP Freedom Fund thing. And that's what we're going to do. Or again, we can say no, and I can ignore these things.
This is the chair. Here's my concern. We're approaching a time boundary for me. I'll have another meeting here in about 15 minutes. Is it the feeling of the commission that we can resolve this matter quickly, or is this something that we need to discuss at a different time?
We can definitely table it unless you want to go ahead and get a vote on the $150 for the sponsorship for the Black Women Get Fit. We can definitely do that one today.
Dr. New, what are your thoughts?
Chair, I know you had called for a motion. I would like to propose the motion, given what I've heard, that we allow our executive director to purchase, well, to pay for the Black Women Get Fit, and then to make any additional purchases for the other two events that are listed in our agenda from the Kansas Health Foundation funds. And that is the only purchase, or those are the only three purchases that can be made based on the decision from this special committee.
Dr. Lewis, did I see that you had your hand up?
I think with Commissioner New's motion, I think I like that. I'm perfectly fine with that, or even setting a amount not to exceed. I'm perfectly fine with the commissioner making a decision. We have her to, as an executive director, make this decision. Fully capable. She's fully capable of making that decision.
Thank you. This is the chair. Thank you. Commissioner Davis?
I'm assuming, was that last comment a second? Or are we in the discussion phase?
We're in discussion.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, you know how I feel about the Black Women Get Fit. And if it gets held up in the other stuff, I just suggest break it out separate and be done with it. I think the NACP can be handled very easily. 2 tickets. I would like to see us get print notoriety whenever we can, put an ad in that booklet. The gala, I think, because of the wide range, we really need to specify a dollar maximum. Particularly since, we are operating before we have set up our best operating procedures.
Commissioner Penn?
I just want to make a move to do a substitute motion so we can just approve the one item and then come back and until we have those hard numbers, I just want to be in compliance with the other two. Until we have that, then we can vote on the other two as well.
Is your hand still up, Commissioner Davis, or?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was an accident. No, let me take it down.
Okay, this is the chair. We have a number of proposals in front of us. Dr. New had a suggestion, as did Commissioner Penn. How do the commissioners feel about those respective ideas? The floor is open.
Commissioner Davis, we do have a motion on the floor.
Well, we have 2 suggestions of motions.
Well, that's the reason I was asking if that
We need to
second comment
figure
was
out
a
which
second or not.
motion we want to, and so I'm looking for some discussion from the commissioners about how to proceed.
For
This
clarification, the
right.
motion on the floor is to allow the executive, by Dr. New, is to allow the executive director to pay the Black Women Get Fit and sponsor the other 2 events from the foundation funds, and that those are the only 3 purchases that can be made from this special committee.
Right.
And if I can-
Commissioner
if I
Penn
can,
had a substitute motion, as Commissioner Penn had a substitute motion to curtail that back to just the one item, the Black Women Get Fit.
But there was
just
a
to
comment.
clarify, oh, I'm sorry. Mine was,
Yep.
I
ahead.
wanted to propose that language for a motion. I did not make a formal motion.
Oh,
But the chair had made a call for a motion. So I said I'd like to propose this as a motion. I'm happy to make it a motion once the chair moves to that point.
This is the chair. Yeah. Dr. New made a suggestion, not a formal motion.
Okay, this commission, that's the reason I asked if the comment after hers was a second, because I didn't know if we were in discussion phase or just open, talking before a motion. So we have no motion on the floor. Is that correct? I thought we did.
No,
I'll call for it.
the substitute motion is kind of like the Uno reverse card. It takes precedence. So it takes precedence over the other motions.
This
Mine
is the,
was
which
not a
is why you
motion.
made a sub motion, correct? Commissioner Penn? A substitute motion?
Substitute motion, yes, sir.
This is Commissioner McRoy. Can it be a substitute motion if Dr. News wasn't a motion?
No.
It
So,
doesn't need to be a substitute motion because she wasn't making a formal motion.
correct. But if the chair would like to present the opportunity to make a motion, then I
Yes.
will.
Yes. I would like to, I would entertain a motion
Okay.
to that effect. No, Commissioner Penn, is your hand still up or you have another question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I substituted chair's motion.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. This is the chair.
When I made the substitute motion, it was to substitute the chair's motion.
Oh, I had not made a motion. I said I would entertain a motion, but I did not make a motion.
Okay, I misunderstood. But yeah, what I was trying to say, please excuse me. I got my little one in the back seat. I was just saying substitute motion takes the priority in all the motions.
I guess the problem is that there wasn't a motion from Dr. New. She was making a suggestion, not a formal motion.
Got it. Okay.
But I would entertain a motion from Dr. New to that effect.
So I move that we, as a special committee, approve the Get Fit Women expenditure of $150 from the Kansas Health Foundation funding, and that we also approve the allowance of our executive director to be able to use her discretion at a max of $500 for the other two additional offers or requests for funding that are in our agenda.
Commissioner Davis, second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please signify your vote by saying aye or raising your hand. All opposed?
Did Penn vote?
Yeah, did you vote, Commissioner Penn? I think we're having technical difficulties.
So I've got McRoy, New, Davis, McCormick, and Lewis voted aye.
Commissioner Penn, did you vote? Were you there?
Yes, I vote aye as well. Sorry, just picking up the kids from school, so
Right.
remind me.
Okay, motion carried. Great. This is the chair. Executive Director Nell, what else do we have on our agenda? Was that the last item?
I believe that's it.
Wow.
I believe that's it.
Good meeting today. Good engagement, everyone.
I can tell you exactly what I'm going to do. Especially if it's capped, we're capped at $500. That's perfectly fine. I will buy 2 tickets to each, and that's it, and offer them, which is what I normally do. Buy 2 tickets to each and offer them to the person who lives the closest. And if they don't want to take it, I'll go myself. That's fine.
Great. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Davis, move to adjourn.
Commissioner Lewis, I second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries. Thank you all for your work today. During a meeting that was a little longer than usual, but we had to get some important things done. Thank you for your engagement, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Hey, one more thing
Yeah.
really quick. I left the form in there. Whoever's going to work on this committee to establish how we award sponsorships, maybe that form is a good starting place for you. So take a look at that. And if you don't get a chance to get it before we get off, email me. I'll send it to you. Thanks.
Great. Thank you for that, Commissioner.
Thank